So Tesla's on an absolute tear, having a sick year to date so far. It's really early, so we don't know how that's going to end. But up to this point, it's had an insane move higher, and today it's up almost 11% alone. So it really feels like the sentiment towards this stock is shifting, and I think it has room up to 200. And today I just want to go over the technicals, and as long as the market holds up and Tesla can hold some of these technical levels, I think 200 is coming soon. So Tesla right now is trading right around 177, 178 bucks. And year to date, if you can look at this number right here, up 64.26%. So it's been a crazy move higher. And I think this is just because of a combination of things. I think the sentiment towards Tesla was about as bad as it gets. And whenever sentiment towards a stock gets really aggressive, and especially on the negative side, and people are piled in short, a lot of times those bounces can be really aggressive. And I think that's what's going on right now. So now that we know all that, let's break down the technicals. So what's happened recently? Tesla had a very nasty sell-off. It felt like this thing was never going to find a bottom. And then it came close to this 100, kind of a psychological major level. Had a pretty nice reversal candle off that 100, as you can see right here. And then since then, that was the low, and it's rallied an insane amount. So it had the rally, kind of just glided higher right around 140, and then formed a little bit of a bull flag, and then it reported earnings. It had good earnings, had the gap up, and it held that earnings gap. So that's a big statement. That's saying that bulls, whether it be short-term or longer-term investors, they believe in the stock, and it held that earnings gap, and then it cleared the high today, and look at this move. Up 11% and a very bullish candle on the daily chart. So now to just break down some technicals as far as major levels. So I'm just looking left, keeping it very simple. A big area of resistance, kind of where it broke down from before, was 170. We got through 170 like it didn't even exist. So clearly showing a lot of strength. And then let's look left. Where is another area of major resistance? 180. Look at all these touch points in that area. And it is trading just below it. So I think that this has a possibility of going to 200, but nobody knows what's going to happen. So here's what obviously I think has to happen. It's got to hold above that 170. What was resistance now becoming support. It's still below that 180. So what it has to do is get up to that 180, and then it's got to kind of hang in that area and then eventually get through 180. So that way prior resistance again becomes support. And I don't think it's just going to go straight up. So maybe it could look something like this, where it eventually gets up to 180, could be a big area of resistance, pulls back, maybe consolidates a little bit, and then gets through it. And then who knows, maybe even comes back to it, tests it. So what was resistance becomes support, maybe forms some sort of bull flag, and then makes a new high. And it could just trend higher up until that 200 area. And the reason why I'm saying 200 is just because that's a major psychological level. Also, that is another big area of resistance. That's kind of where it broke down from. So I would think that if it gets up to 200, if it has the legs to be able to get there in the first place, I don't think it's going to get through it really easily. But like I always say, you never know what's going to happen. It may not even get to 200. I'm just playing this out, that if it gets above that 180, gets to 190, continues to trend higher, makes higher lows, it could possibly get there. But the other scenario is that this could get into 180. That ends up being a big area of resistance. It's not able to get through that. The market starts to roll over, and who knows, that could be a short-term top. It could get to 170, bounce off it, and then maybe even get below it. And then once again, all those resistance areas remain resistance because they were support, but then it blew through them. And if it were to do that, so if it failed at that 180 area or even got just above it, kind of like a little peekaboo above it, and then rolls over, because sometimes that's what the market likes to do, fake breakouts. But if it ends up getting back below this 170, starts to trend lower, and then looks like it's lost some steam, it does have an open downside gap. And that open downside gap is right around 145, 146. So who knows? Maybe it could fill this downside gap, and then that could be an area of support. And then maybe it holds 150, and then it works its way higher again. So numerous different scenarios. And that's what the market is all about. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It's just about playing the probabilities of what could happen. But at least for the very short term, and after the move today, up 11% on elevated volume, I feel like it has a good chance to get to 200. And it may not do it next week or the week after, but I think in a shorter time frame, it has a potential to get there pretty quick. But at the end of the day, I'm just a trader. I'm not an investor. I don't really care if it gets there, but I'm just trying to see things from a bigger picture perspective, so that way I can keep my short-term trades in line with the overall trend and the sentiment. So that's my overall thesis, and we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think Tesla's going to do. Appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.